It'll be there at some point. It might not be episode 3, mate. I'm just, might be like episode 6. That's 20 seconds in already. This is part 3. This is Robert's spicy list of spicy takes, spicy films. On the Scoville scale, this is going to be a hot one. Anyway,
What?
right into it.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to say before we begin, Robert? We've had, so episode 1 was my list. Episode 2 was Brandon's list. And this was our top 5 films of all time. Not the best films, our personal top picks for our favourite films. And now it's episode 3 and it's Robert's turn.
I want to apologise for the weak-minded.
Among
I
you.
kid. Yeah. Unlike me, I'm so strong. To be honest, my films aren't that big of a hot take. I've been really tame.
Tune in next week for some hot takes.
Yeah, tune in.
There's some motivation. Yeah. Keep watching.
So, in episode 1, Ryan had spoken about a movie called Silence by Martin
This
Scorsese.
is in your top 5?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm glad about that.
Yeah. I couldn't not put it in my top 5. If you guys don't know who Martin's... how do you say his second name?
Scorsese.
Scorsese is. He's also in...
He's in Shark Tale.
Shark Tale. So,
in case anyone
he's in Shark
knows,
Tale.
Martin Scorsese from Shark Tale, yeah. Mate, he was in that film. He deserves to have his legacy ruined.
See when he dies, that'll be on his gravestone.
Guys, this is Marvel, but it's in Shark Tale. Shocking.
It's a good point.
Yeah. We'll have our lows.
Wait, that's his high. What are you on about?
Was he the pufferfish though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, good start.
Anyway.
Already off topic.
So The Silence is my 5th favorite film. I think it's more like personal reasons behind why I love this film so much. But it's more of like and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but from watching it, it's more of like
it's an experience.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster, and I think it's a movie that you can watch, and you don't particularly have to be religious or spiritual or have a faith of some sort, but it's definitely like an eye opener of maybe your morals and like who you are as an individual, and it's one of those.
Sorry, finish this point and then I'll say something.
It's one of those films for me that when I watched it, it was like, I was like, who the heck am I? like who am I? And it's just one of those films where it's like I don't tend to watch it often, but when I'm in a state of like, just in like the lower, one of the lower times in your life, I put it on to kind of have like that reanalysis of myself kind of situation, and it helps kind of push me a bit.
I think. Do you think you could give like a kind of short summary of who's in it and what it is?
Absolutely, yeah. So The Silence, it's about 2 missionaries, and Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield are these 2 missionaries, and they go over. Is it to Japan? Is that
they're Catholic, right? And
yeah, they're Catholic.
Is it Portuguese? They are, I think.
Portuguese Catholics.
I think they're Portuguese, but yeah, they're sent over to Japan to go search for their mentor or like a priest or something like that who went there before and is now missing.
Yeah. So and Liam Neeson plays the mentor, and he's gone missing, or it was something to do with that, and they go there, and there's the whole thing of um, they won't allow the Christianity um, there, and whoever practices it will be like severely punished or killed. And it's a thing of like, if they're helping the missionaries, you know, the like I said, murder, like killed or badly beaten or whatnot,
Yeah.
and their morals and faith are really tested.
It's I think it's a great example of, well, it's a great, because like from the get-go it's making you question like they're questioning their morals as well, where I think one of the big points of it, and this is probably spoilers, but would recommend you go watch it. I mean, it's spoilers. I mean, obviously with any film you're going to get more out of it if you don't know what it is going in, but
Yeah.
So spoiler, this is part of the big moral point is, or one of the big moral points is, their conflict between their evangelizing faith of they want to go to this new country and, well, find the priest but also evangelize the Japanese, so they want to bring them into Christianity, for obvious reasons, but the Japanese, one, are not receptive of foreigners, never mind other religious bodies, or practitioners, but also everyone they kind of come in contact with is punished for their Christianity. So it's that dilemma of, even though you're trying to save people, they're being harmed because you're trying to help them. So is it right to help them if they're only going to have suffering because of it? That's kind of like one of the big main points.
Absolutely.
And the great thing is, I mean, I can set this up for you and you can talk about it if you'd like, Robert, is you get a good mix of characters who fall on different sides of that moral line, or have more doubts or less doubts about where they fall on that moral line of, are they more strict with it in terms of they're going to stick to their morals and regardless of the consequences it's the right thing to do, or is their faith going to waver, or is their inclination to help evangelize these people, is that gonna waver, sort of thing, and are they going to give up their own principles?
Yeah, well, like I think you talk about the characters and whether or not they're going to waver with their faith and or stay strong. And Martin does a really interesting thing with the story where you don't follow the perfect or the perfect missionary, the perfect like religious character, and you follow the one who's forever questioning his faith and his relationship with God. And so you have this thing of like, there's one missionary who's constantly who plays Andrew Garfield, who's played by Andrew Garfield, who's constantly questioning throughout the movie whether what he's doing is correct. And then you have Adam Driver, who's just, and I don't know if you agree with me, Ryan, but from how I saw it, it was that very much of like Adam Driver is the perfect, he like,
Yeah, from the point of view of the church, he's the ideal model of what like an evangelical or like a martyr should be. Is that it'd be preferable for you to martyr and never waver and not give up your faith and try your hardest and it fail than kind of compromise yourself in the process of encountering adversity, sort of thing.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be accurate to say Adam Driver is like the kind of ideal case for Andrew Garfield. But obviously, spoilers, it doesn't end up very well for Adam Driver.
But then there's that thing of, would you not rather end up like Adam Driver, knowing that you spent your whole life perfect, or not perfect, but like striving to be perfect, than being like Andrew and questioning your whole life, and there's that.
It's hard as well, right? Because I've watched videos of different people reacting from different religious communities to this, and I think there has been a reaction to the end of the film as well, where I mean, you can. In fact, it's your list. You can talk about it. About maybe where like Andrew Garfield kind of ends up at the end of the film.
So at the end of the film, spoiler, Andrew ends up just kind of completely, not giving up, but well, I guess giving up, right? And he joins the side, and he steps on. They have this like stone, and the Japanese make them like step on this stone, and it's got like Jesus on it, and it's kind of like is it denouncing? Would you say like denouncing your faith, or like
renouncing your faith?
Yeah. And so Andrew does this, and near the end of the film, after just so many months of just people dying or suffering because of him, and and it does this thing where you see that he is now, he's given up kind of situation, and he's sitting there, and he's sitting with his with Liam Nielsen, and they're both just, they've got happy, simple lives. They've got wives, they've got children, um, and but he's alive, and I believe as well there's a hint that he still believes in God, right? Or still.
Well, this is the thing, right? It's kind of ambiguous anyway, but my interpretation was that he decided that, and because he was encouraged by Liam Neeson's character, who also did this, but you don't find this out until you find out Andrew Garfield as well, is that they, instead of being open about their faith in the foreign country, they are closed about it. So they, on the outside, they conform to what the Japanese want them to do, like getting wives and basically living like a Japanese kind of native. But behind closed doors, they are still Christian at heart, sort of thing. This is kind of the point that comes under a bit of controversy, because the way it's framed almost seems like there's, like, depending on how you could take it, because obviously again it's ambiguous, but I think a lot of people read that as, well, in that sense maybe that is the correct answer. And then I've seen a Catholic, and maybe I can't remember the other one, definitely a Catholic, react to it in a way that was negative, because it seemed like their read was that renouncing your faith in the public eye was maybe the best, like if it, like, to stop the suffering and all that kind of stuff is, well, maybe you do renounce God, but as long as you're true in your heart, then all is forgiven, sort of thing. But that does kind of go against some of the principles of Christianity and stuff in the Bible, especially about being open about your faith and turning the other cheek, sort of thing.
Well, like a lot as well. There is that whole like standalone. That whole like.
I think that's where some of the controversy comes from. The other thing that's controversial is that the ending to the book isn't the same as the ending to the film, where I think that might have been added. I'm honestly not positive. I think the end of the book is maybe just the same, just without the hint that he's still Christian.
Right, okay. Got you.
I honestly couldn't remember. If that's not the case, then put it down in the comments and don't do that. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, I couldn't bash you for not putting that in your top 5.
No, yeah, like like I said at the start, I have like a lot of like personal just love for it, and I think as well the acting's incredible, the scenery, the cinematography is incredible, the writing itself.
It's just ruthless as well.
It is.
It lingers on certain shots as well, where I like. I've noticed Tarantino does this a bit as well after watching a few of the films the last couple of days. I really like and Scorsese does this quite a bit in this film, is I really like the scenes where, like, obviously you have something that happens, but then you have a kind of lingering around where you kind of see a little bit of like the aftermath of a bit more of a mundane kind of activity following a kind of more elevated thing. Like if something like quite bad or ruthless happens, you don't just kind of cut and then it's more like an action shot. You get like a prolonged, like a stretching out of the scene, and it's really quite.
It's unsettling, but it's intriguing in a way.
Yeah.
The one thing I really like about the film is the characters. I think for me this is where like it's strongest, because there's a character who's like, he constantly is like wanting to learn about Christianity, but he just steps on like on this the stone of Jesus, and he renounces his faith all the time. And then there's a scene at the end where Andrew's talking about him, and then he's like, he just didn't do it, and then he's never seen him again, just implying that he's been killed for not doing it. But there's this like really long and like slowly stretched character development with just this like just a simple side character, but you absolutely like. I don't know. It's like you feel for him, and you're like he got his whole family killed because he did that. But at the same time, it's like he's a good guy. I don't know, but
yeah. I think that's one of the big strengths of the film, is that it does focus on a few characters rather than a lot.
Yeah.
There's quite a few side characters, and like there's a few villages with like different characters of like remnant Christians from like Liam Neeson's time there, and then just like other prisoners and obviously guards and all that kind of thing. But it is really a focus on Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver towards the beginning, but obviously not towards kind of midpoint. And then you get a big point with Liam Neeson at the end, but
yeah,
it is very much all about.
So what would you say is your favorite scene or favorite shot in that film? Because for me, I would say it's near the end where it's the prisoners and the guards are like making Andrew like decide to keep them alive or kill them.
Well, see, I didn't know this when I first watched it, but apparently, just before he steps on the kind of is it an icon? It could be an icon of Jesus. Apparently, there's a voice that calls out his name, I think, or something like that.
All right.
I didn't catch that the first time, and I think in fact, I've only seen this film once, but I don't know. I think the bit with Adam Driver was pretty like when he goes out, it's just like awful. But I really like that scene. I just think when you kind of just let Andrew Garfield kind of shine, and just like, he's in like the close quarters, he's kind of like under the houses, sort of like bunking out, being sheltered by these people. I just love that scene as well.
Uh-huh. It is so good.
I think the thing is with other films, we've obviously been talking about quite like Pixar films and Star Wars films, where you can easily watch these on your own or with a group or something like that. This film, and if this is an indication of your list, Robert, these films might be more appropriate for kind of sitting down and paying attention as well, where this isn't a film where you can just have on in the background and understand everything. It's very much like a sensory experience as well. Like they're in the jungle a lot of the time, or in the kind of forests and stuff like that, and they're in little like huts, and it's not like big action going on, but you really need to listen to the dialogue and stuff, and it's like it's a film where if you pay more attention, you're going to get more from it. So like a film like Hot Fuzz you can watch whenever, but like this is more of a kind of, you sit down and you watch this with the intent of sitting down and watching this. So
absolutely, like, take away the distractions.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch this with anyone if they talk through the film.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have a horrible time.
No, absolutely. It is one of those films where it's just you sit down, and that's
the other
it.
thing is, do you think? I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how much people would like this unless they already had some knowledge of kind of Christianity, or like maybe like a light amount of Japanese history, or like persecution of Christians in Japan. I mean,
Uh,
you don't need it, but I wonder how much the kind of morality stuff lands if you're like, say, an atheist. Um, I've never watched it under those eyes, so I couldn't say. But and obviously you've come from a kind of, well, Robert's come from a kind of religious background. I'll connect with
yep.
him, and it does definitely connect with a lot of religious communities as well, from what I've seen online. But I'm not sure it could do, but I'm not positive this film is like necessarily. I wouldn't say you have to be religious, but maybe like if you're like agnostic and above, like I guess atheists can enjoy it as well. I'm not saying they can't, but
Well,
I don't know how much you're going to get out of it if you say are a kind of not just an atheist, but more of a like anti-religionist. I can't see you getting much out of this. But obviously, if you're
yeah.
anti-religious, I doubt you're going to watch a
Well,
religious film. But it is very much a religious film at its heart as well. So
yeah,
expect that.
yeah, it is, and like I think you can go in not having any religious beliefs or having as much religious beliefs as you want, and I think it's still like there's still like a moral aspect of like you
Right.
strip the person down to like their core, and it is like you know how we were saying earlier how Adam Driver is like the perfect missionary in like the Catholics kind of eyes. Well,
That's maybe one of the points I maybe think that a person who's maybe not even atheist but is maybe unfamiliar with like church doctrine would maybe not get that point that he is actually supposed to be kind of the model
right,
in
okay.
terms of like theory, like diehard theory of like, oh, if you're looking at like the absolute facts, I
Hmm.
guess he falls into the category of like the best or like the ideal, but or closer to the ideal. But had you not had that kind of knowledge, maybe you would miss the point that he is supposed to be kind
He,
of Andrew Garfield's. He's supposed to kind of follow in those footsteps, but
yeah.
he doesn't quite. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I think you're going to get something from this film anyway. But I think probably it's going to land a lot heavier if you do have some sort of religious background or even questioning sort of.
And I would say like to watch it with
Yeah,
an open mind of like it's not like oh truth truth truth. It's just like it's a very like I said moral, like it is your moral code with your religion or with yourself.
it's odd as well, right? Because it's kind of like a serenely horrible movie as well, where like there's some shots that are just like amazing and just like you could sit and watch, and it's a bit like when you put waves on when you go to sleep, it's a bit like a kind of like mood setter
Yeah, yeah,
where you just have these like beautiful shots of the Japanese landscape, or like Japanese villages and stuff like that, and then they're just absolutely fucking ruthless, and it's
yeah.
such a good contrast. Um,
It's such a good movie. It's very black and white sometimes, but it's great.
yeah, I feel like Brandon's missing out a little bit here, but if there's anything you wanted to kind of wrap up with Silence, Robert,
Go watch it.
go watch it.
Go
I
watch
quite agree. I'm sure we have a Stuart enjoyed it as well, right? Silence.
I actually don't know. I haven't spoken to
I'm sure
him
he
about
recommended it
it.
to me. Anyway, count that as 3 recommendations to go watch it. I think it was 2016, something like that. It's
Yeah, 2016.
I think I bought it on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if it's on anything streaming wise, but definitely worth the 4.99, 5.99, or whatever you'll pay for it.
Absolutely. Well, if they've got YouTube, they can Google it. So,
Yeah, even
but
that's
yeah,
good trailer as well. Actually, a really good trailer for the film.
it's an amazing film.
Um,
Brandon, do you have anything to say about the silence?
I like Adam Driver. I like Andrew Garfield. I've not seen the film, but if they're in it, then it sounds good.
Sweet.
The thing is it's quite preachy though, because if it is that,
No,
they're not people
no,
that film.
no,
So.
it's not preachy.
Right.
It's very is like it's a story about a man who's going on a mission, and then his faith is like. But
good. So,
we'll move away from the
yep,
from silence. So, are you ready for this, boys? This isn't a hot take.
just say it. Okay.
Reservoir Dogs Reservoir Dogs in fourth place. Now, it's the first Quentin movie I've ever seen, and I just absolutely love it, and I rewatch it all the time, and I just I just can't get enough of it. I just think it's perfect. It's just it's one of those films where it's like it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and I want more, but I'm happy I'm not getting more. And it's just the whole like start to end is just perfect, and the dialogue and the scene, yeah, the cinematography. Sorry, it's just it's a very like it's a simple story. I think it's got like three or four sets, and it's about these group of criminals who've been hired to like go and steal these diamonds or get these diamonds and stuff, but they've all got like these identities, so they don't know their real names, but they're color coded, and it's like, what's what's his name? Steve.
Buscemi.
Yeah, I believe his character is called Pink, and he's just he's just like totally, it's just amazing in it. Like everyone's great in it, and there's a lot of characters that have like really like small and simple roles. Like Quentin's in it, and he's only in it for like 2 scenes, and then he dies. But it's like great, absolutely like 10 out of 10. Have you guys seen Reservoir Dogs?
I haven't. But I've not watched many Quentin Tarantino films, so that doesn't say much.
Gonna be honest, I think it's his only film I haven't seen.
Are you serious? Yeah. Oh, so good.
Mate, it's been on my watch list for so long.
It's just like it's start to end. I just think it's absolutely great because it's. I don't know. I've you know when you watch a movie and there's like dialogue, but it's like it's real and it confuses you a little bit. You know, like characters are adding in their M's and they're like It's like that, and you're like, what the heck?
I think Tarantino's really good for that in general.
He's great. He's definitely one of my favorite like screenwriters and directors for his dialogue.
He's great. I think he's great at like off the cuff stuff like that, but I think he's also great for like having anime like dialogue, but it not being like cringe.
Yeah.
You know, like Django. Django's basically like he has like really cool dialogue. Like it's over the top, but it makes sense. Like he's like, I like the way you die, boy. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's like it's badass just for the sake of being badass, but it's also really good.
It is so good.
I mean, obviously, there's not much I can add to this, but
yeah.
But if you want to gush about it for another few minutes,
I just love it because like I obviously won't say the ending, but there's these two characters, and so there's one of the characters is he's a detective, and he's trying to like he's got himself in this gang, and he's trying to get them all arrested. But they don't know that he's a cop or a detective, right? Undercover cop, sorry. And anyway, he gets shot at some point, and he has like this really like close relationship with one of the criminals, and they've become almost like father and son. And it's just such a good it's just good. It's just really good. I don't have any complaints.
This was Quentin's like breakout. I think he'd done like TV before, right? But this is like his like actual breakout movie thing, right?
Yeah. I think this was his first like.
Yeah, I've seen him talk about it. I really like Quentin does really good interviews actually. He's such a weird guy, but he does great interviews. Is there feet in this film?
I do not remember.
But is there, so like, I guess coming off like not seeing it, is there like, you can like, there's definitely like, the spirit of Tarantino in it, like he's already got like his isms in it sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because like, so you know how he really likes his like dance scenes. Like there's always a scene where some like there's music and there's dancing at some, especially Pulp Fiction, that whole film's filled with like a dance scene here and there. But with Reservoir Dogs, there's there's a cop, and one of the guys is torturing him, but he's just put on some music and he's like dancing while like cutting him up. It's like, but it's so good, and you're like, oh, this is so. It's definitely not his like grimmest film.
Right.
It's not like, but it's still like, I believe he cuts his ear off.
I tell you what, I'll watch it tomorrow because I've been meaning to watch this for years. I'll watch it tomorrow, and it'll be in the weekly episode. We can talk about it proper.
Sweet. Because I love it. To people who haven't seen it, I would say it's definitely.
And you've seen all his other films.
The only one I haven't seen is Jackie Brown.
Right. Okay.
I personally think it's just his best for like, it's just a small and simple story. Like, it's very basic.
Right.
But like, it's so gripping, but it cuts you off at a point where you want more. And you want to like, and so you're left satisfied, but also like not at the same time. And I just love it. I think it's great.
Fair dues.
Yep. So,
number 3.
Number 3. So Ryan's already talked about this, but About Time.
Fair. Mate, we're only at 32 minutes. You've got like an hour and a half yet before you're at my schedule.
I know. And I don't think I can even talk about Time.
Oh,
you pretty much said though.
Oh no, mate. Go gosh.
Okay, so what is there not to like about Time? Nothing. Maybe the intro bit that you had said at the start, but I personally still really like it.
That was my only issue watching it, was the very beginning. Even the narration's, I don't have a problem with narration, but I didn't really like the narration to begin with. But as the film went on, I felt like it got better. I don't know why, and even on a second watch, I still think the first maybe like 5 minutes of like everything that's narrated in the first 5 minutes is a bit but after that I think it really works.
I really like it because like I get your point. I'm just gonna be devil's advocate. I really like the film because the narration of the film, because it starts off like his character where he's just this kind of like quirky guy who's just a bit like, you know, he's very happy and cheery and just nice, but he's also really awkward. But then as like the movie progresses and his narration progresses, it's because he gets more confident and he becomes like more himself. Or not himself, but more like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
And so that's, you know, that's my point of view from the narration.
My only other issue with the film is I just don't believe Domhnall Gleeson can pull Rachel McAdams, even if she's supposed to look nerdy. No chance.
Nah, man, I think he totally could. He's so...
Mate, this guy pulled... Nah, bro, this guy pulled Margot Robbie in this film. There's no chance.
No, he didn't.
Oh, he totally could have.
No, he didn't.
He totally could have.
No, he couldn't.
100%.
Nah.
Mate,
just wait. Wait.
I've missed something here. What are we on
about? People, wait. Let's roll. People might have not seen this movie or like heard your part of it. So just real quick. About Time is about this guy who learns that every guy in his family can time travel
once they reach 21, I think.
Yeah, once they reach a certain age. It's like a rom-com.
But they can only go back. They can't go forward. They can only go back, and they can only go back to like themselves at that time.
But then they can go forward to the day that they had gone back.
They can change something and then return to the future and see like how that changes the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10. The romance is great. It's very real, but there's still something where there's a bit of like romanticized, like it's romanticized, but it's also real. Yeah. It's not like out of the world, like this is weird, even though it's time travel.
I do think the best thing this movie does is it walks right past every easy avenue to like tension or like just propelling the story, where it's almost like it sets up all these things that you expect and you would hate if they actually did, and then it just like walks right past them and doesn't even look at it.
Yep.
And it's like the most awful thing to watch on the first watch, because you're like, please don't cheat on your wife, please don't do this, even if it's in a different timeline, don't do this. And then he doesn't, and it's like, good, why'd you set that up? Like, you know, like it comes up with like all these ways of like how he could fuck up his life, and then he just doesn't, and you're
Yeah,
like,
and then
yeah,
and then when he tries to change something to make someone else's life better, it fucks up his life. And then he has to like either he has to deal with the consequence, because there's this really good scene where he's got a roommate, and his roommate's this like writer, and anyway the actors who are doing this like play from the writer like mess up the lines, and it like completely ruins them. Um, but then he goes back in time, and it means he doesn't get to see his Rachel McAdams. Like he doesn't get to meet her for the first time, and so then they no longer had that like connection, and so he has to like solve that. And then with his sister, that whole storyline.
I think they actually could have. I think one of my only like it's kind of a long film for what it is as well. Actually, it doesn't feel like a long film, but it
No,
is
it
kind of
doesn't.
long. I think they could have even went further into that. They kind of they do deal with quite a few concepts in this, but they only kind of like they deal with them enough for you to be satisfied, but they don't tend to go too much further. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
you could probably take any one of the concepts from this and then make a whole film about that and do a deep dive, and it would be satisfying.
Absolutely.
But they kind of
Absolutely.
just touch on a lot of little things.
Well, I think I like it because it's a thing of like, he sacrifices not seeing Rachel, so he can help his friend become a famous writer.
Mate, his
Uh,
friend, the writer, is the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean as well.
who does he play in
He's
Pirates of the
the
Caribbean?
English, the bad guy, the bad, what's his name?
Is that
Beckett.
him?
Yeah.
Oh my! I
I
didn't
couldn't
even
believe it
click that.
when I watched it the second time. I was like, shit, that's the guy for Pirates in it. I was
That's
like, no way.
amazing. Well, see, like he doesn't tell him, right? Like no one knows that he can time travel, but his dad.
Yep.
And so he has this thing of like he's still addicted to the main character, and then he learn, and then he goes, and his sister's in this abusive relationship, and so he tries to like go back in time and get her with someone who's really nice, and then he goes back and he finds out that is like he has a different child because of the time thing.
That's the kind of smart thing in this film is that because they've kind of given him this like almost unlimited power to go back and change his past, they then restrict it in a really good way, which is as soon as his first child is born, as soon as he goes back before that moment that the child's like conceived, he starts to change who the
The
child
child,
will become, sort of thing. So
yeah,
his kid changes. So he obviously spends a lot, like most of his time raising this like young girl, and then he goes back and goes to try and save his sister, but in the process goes back before the birth of his daughter, and then his daughter is born a son, and he doesn't recognize them, obviously. And the thing I loved about that scene is I was like, oh shit, this is where the film's going. This is where like this is like his big nosedive is he loses his kid, and the rest of the film's going to be about him trying to get his kid back. And then they're like, no, he just undid it, and I was like,
yeah,
great. But they cut it in a way where it's like it's almost just like he's not spent any time thinking about it. He's already made up his mind that he's going to go back and change it. It's not even worth questioning. He's already decided in his head this needs to be undone. So there's
yeah.
no time spent on it with you. You're just straight into the next version, which is like, oh yeah, she's back. Um,
But I really like that because then it goes to like like he can't help everyone,
yeah. It also sets
because
up
then
the end really well with his dad.
100%, because then with his sister he can't help his sister, right? Like he can't
In
go
the
back and
past, yeah.
fix it. Yeah, like he has to help her now.
Which is yeah, that's such a great way of getting that point across as well.
I think it's so good. It's so good, and for him as well, he kind of is like, right, I have to put myself first now.
Yeah, and
Also,
all right,
oh
go
sorry,
ahead.
you go,
I
you
was
go.
going to say if you have any, I don't know how to say this. In fact, you just say what you're going to say. I'll think of how I'm going to say this.
Okay, so I think one of the funniest and the one of the funniest thing in the movie is when he first goes to sleep with Rachel.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do too well, and then it's like time he goes back in
Yeah.
time, and he keeps going back in time to the point where like she's like they're both on the
My
floor.
favorite bit was when he was like, "Oh yeah, amateurs." Like some people would make an arse of it the first time, but
Yeah,
then he
yeah,
goes
yeah.
back again. I didn't expect him to do it the second time. I was like, "All right, he's fine. He's solved his problem," and I thought that was going to be the punchline. And then they do it again, and they're like on the floor, and he's like, "That's the best night of my life." It's good. The comedy is completely on point. I think maybe if you're an
So
American, you
good.
might not get I don't know, because like Rachel McAdams is American in the film.
Yeah, no,
I think you would, but I
I
think
think he would.
some like Hot Fuzz. I've shown to one of my American roommates, and he loved it. I don't know if he got all the jokes because obviously some of them are quite British.
Yeah.
But I think this might fall into that of like maybe some of the humor won't land for other audiences, but if you're British, this is and you like British humor, this is like completely on point from like the first point. Bill Nye's delivery of one of the lines in this film might be my favorite delivery of like a comedic line ever as well.
What line is that?
It's when they're at the table and Margot Robbie's character, it's the day before she leaves, they're having lunch. And he looks over at Domhnall Gleeson and he goes, have you enjoyed Charlotte being here, Tim? Like that, and it's the most dad question in the world, and he does it perfectly. Where you're like, I believe he's just said that to like his son. It doesn't even feel. Thing is, it doesn't even. It's clearly like him acting really well. It doesn't even feel like acting. It feels so natural. And every time I watch the film, I just burst out laughing because it's unbelievable. The cheeky look on his face is unbelievable. It's so well done.
the the one thing I really like about this film, where I find that I struggle with 85% of films, is they feel like a family. Like the dad and
Mm.
the children and the mom. Like it feels like they actually are, a family.
The mom has a really good line as well, actually. Once you so like towards the end, the dad gets cancer. Um, and obviously, so he's like, I really love when they do this as well. Just digress quickly, is when they show you the dad has obviously gone back in time a few times, but Domhnall Gleeson's
Mhm.
character doesn't see that, even though he's a time traveler. Like their time travels are independent, so they kind of layer on top of each other. It's not like because he's a time traveler he can see his dad do it too. Um, so you can see evidence that this isn't the first time that they've had certain conversations, or that he's tried to do this. And sometimes they just outright say it, but um, one of the good ones is he's like, "Oh, there's no hope of getting like an earlier diagnosis," which obviously means the dad has lived out a longer life, got it diagnosed later in his life, and then went back originally and got it checked out earlier, so he can maybe catch the cancer earlier. But it doesn't actually matter. And like little lines like that are great as well.
I I also really like the wedding with the dad,
Right.
and how he like how he the son does the wedding like so many times,
Yep.
and then like for the best man, sorry, they change the best man
Yeah.
so many times, and then the dad gives a speech, and then there's I think he does it again, and then like he says that he's like proud of you or
I
he
wish I said
loves
I'd
you.
love you or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he
yeah,
goes back and
yeah,
does it
yeah. And
again.
then yeah, and it's just like it's just a small, like really small thing,
Yeah.
right? But it's so good.
Well, Bill Nye is just unbelievable in this film. Anyway, Donald Gleason's great. His chemistry with Rachel McAdams is great. Even I forget her name, but she's in like Hobbs and Shaw. She's like Jason Statham's sister. She's like Rachel McAdams' friend.
Oh yeah, yeah, the blonde
She's
one. I
good.
forget her name. She's really good.
That's the thing. Just everyone in this one's great. There's like some great moments where like he realizes. So Rachel McAdams' character's in like a new relationship the second time he meets her. So technically, when they met the first time, she was already in a relationship, sort of thing. Even though they were kind of like flirting. That's maybe my only criticism of the film is I'm a bit like, well, why did she get so uh like why did she kind of like not lead him on, but she was like, oh yeah, I'd love to meet you again, and even though she was kind of in a relationship at the time anyway, but
I thought it was after the party was after
no,
that.
because that was the same night, I think. Was it not? Or was it
So
later?
then it would have,
Maybe you're right, actually. I'll have to watch it again.
because I'm pretty
I
sure
thought that's why
that
he had
was
such a
the.
big reaction to it, is because he was like, "Oh, you're in a relationship? Like, this has never come up before," even though we spent like that whole night together, sort of thing. I'll have to rewatch it again. That might be on me.
Robert, I have a fun fact for you about this film. I've got one thing to chip in. Robert, your Inquisitor's voice actor's in the film.
Oh really?
He plays Rupert. I don't know who Rupert is, but whoever Rupert is, that's the same. It's the same person.
Which Inquisitor?
It's a video game.
Dragon
right.
Age.
Oh, okay, right.
But I was just looking at IMDb and I was like, I recognize that guy.
I was just talking about Rupert, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You go.
So like, anyway, so he gets like, they go to like a museum or something, and he realizes that she's in a relationship with this other guy called Rupert, and then he goes back to the party where they met and just like snatches her before he even gets to the party.
It's great.
And they walk out, and the guy says something, and Domhnall Gleeson's just like, "What a dickhead!" Like, yeah, it's such a great moment. But yeah, there's a lot of little things like that, and I think the comedy was a little bit maybe like, I thought it was a bit too like wacky to begin with, but like you kind of settle into a lot of the things that I have issues with in the film are right at the very beginning, and then you really settle into them as it goes on.
Yeah.
But I did not expect that from the film at all, about where it went and stuff. I think I could honestly, given I'd only seen it the first time last week, I don't think I could recommend a film more to go watch.
Honestly, yeah. If I could recommend a film for any age, About Time.
Yeah.
Like
it's also just, it's something like, even though it's time travel, like your mum will love it, your gran will love it,
your dad will love it.
Your dad will love it. Your dad won't admit it, but your dad will love it.
Oh, like yeah. The thing is like, it's just that it's a good feel film, but with a gut punch, but it makes you cry of happiness and sadness, and like the same scene is great.
It's on Prime when I watched it. I think it's coming off Prime, so I'd expect it to be on like Netflix or something, but it's always on. It's always like rotating around stuff. Yeah. So definitely check it out on streaming.
Definitely.
But yeah, so that's your number 3.
Number 3.
Number 2 and number 1, they better be spectacular, because About Time is very good.
Okay, so I doubt you guys have even heard of these films, but I think they're amazing. So in second place is Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. Have you guys heard of this film?
I've heard of it, but I haven't.
I've heard of it, so
I haven't seen it, no.
Okay, so we'll quickly run through it. It's about it's about this kid, and he's just awkward, and his best mate Earl is those two make like films together, and they're in. Oh, it's Americans, so I really don't know the school system, but I believe it's high school or whatever it is. But they just make these films, and their the main character's mother finds out that one of their neighbors' daughter has just gotten cancer, and so she forces him to go hang out with her. And he's just this like really just dry sense of humor, just completely blunt guy, and he's pretty much like, yeah, I've been forced to hang out with you. But he's very like mopey, and everything's about him kind of situation, and it's just this film of him learning, and like learning to get like some motivation and find happiness, and like go to college and study film because that's something he enjoys, right? And in this film, the girl with cancer, it does this thing of like she's the one guiding him and helping him, and he is as well with her in many ways, but it's a very like it's a very like flip of a film, where it's like it's not a film about like the person suffering, it's about like the other person like, sorry, the person that doesn't have cancer suffering. It's about like their friend suffering, but they're the one who's being a miserable sod, and the one with cancer isn't. It's really interesting, but it's it's just goofy. It's funny. It's very beautiful. It's really sad, and it's just like it's just your typical like cheesy film, but without. It's almost like a romance comedy, but without romance in it. Like they hint at a lot of romance, but it's just like they just turn it into like best friends kind of situation, and it's a very beautiful story. It's very sweet. It's a tearjerker, but I'd recommend it to anyone to watch it because it is funny. And if you've ever seen what is it called? What's that TV show with Chris Pratt and
Parks and Rec.
yeah, Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec. He's the father,
Right.
and he's a wild man, and he's so good in it. But they've got a really good cast, and it makes me cry every time I watch it, and it's very rare to make me cry watching a film. So, and I rewatch it like all the time. So.
Just to make sure you're human.
Yes, just to make sure I'm human. Everyone can tell you that I don't cry at movies. So, 10 out of 10 in my books. But it sucks that you guys don't watch the same movies as me. I just feel...
Well, this is the thing as well, is I guess part of this is like, if you want to talk about one of these films, you go like, we can just talk about it the week before, and then like watch it by the next week and then talk about it.
But but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other.
There's two films left that I know you love, but there's only one space left, so I'm like, well,
what films are those?
One of them's Peanut Butter Falcon, but I've seen that one, so you wouldn't have. You said I haven't seen it, so it's not that.
Yep.
And then the Daniel Radcliffe one.
Yeah, that's right.
Guns Akimbo. Oh, mate, what a great film.
No, not that one. Absolutely
mate,
not.
I made it 2/3 way through that film and was like, nah, I can't do this, mate.
Yeah, I don't think I remember that film. But yeah, no, honestly, Meet Earl and the Dying Girl. If you haven't seen it, recommend. It's not a long film; it's quite short, but it's one of those films. I think it's like it's quite like about time. Like they have some similarities to it, where it is very like it's a hidden gem. Like you go in not expecting much, and then you come out being like, "What the heck?" It's really good. But
well, sorry we haven't seen most of your list, Robert, but
it's okay. It's okay. It's alright. I knew what I was getting into.
Top spot.
Top spot. Okay. So, Swiss Army Man. Have we heard of Swiss Army Man?
I've heard you talk about it before.
Because it's so fucking good.
So to me,
Swiss Army Man.
Because from what I've heard, it's weird.
Okay.
So
Mate, it's wacky. It's wacky. So I'll start it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hank. You see Hank, and he's clearly stranded on an island. And you see that he's about to hang himself. And as he's hanging himself, he sees his body floating, his dead body floating from the ocean, and it's Daniel Radcliffe. But Daniel Radcliffe is dead, right? So it's just
Harry Potter is dead.
Harry Potter come to die. So Mr. Harry Potter is dead. Dead. So anyway, this guy is like, he's all giddy and he thinks he's alive, so he goes over and then, realizes he's dead, so he goes back to hang himself. And then oh yeah. So anyway, hangs himself. Yada yada yada. Rope breaks. I'm pretty sure he tries it again, but I can't remember. But anyway, he Daniel Radcliffe's character starts farting like mad, and his body starts like flipping, and Hank, the main character, who is also played by the guy who played the Riddle in the Batman movie,
Paul Dano.
Paul, yeah. He goes, gets on top of Daniel Radcliffe's character, and in the most non-sexual way possible, rides him like a motorboat into another island, and Daniel Radcliffe's ass is like a motorboat and thingies them off to this other island, and that is the first like 5 minutes of the film.
This is also written by the two Daniels who did Everything Everywhere All at Once. So
yes,
that explains some of the weirdness.
Yes. Which honorable mention, by the way, that came 6th place.
Oh really?
But
Wow.
Mate, I love that film.
Mate, Raccacoonie is the best part of that film because the second he came on screen, I heard his voice and I went, "That's fucking Randy Newman." And I looked at the credits and I was like, "No fucking way they got Randy Newman to play a raccoon." And they did. They fucking did. I don't even know if that's like his first like voice acting role, but like Randy Newman is fucking a Raccacoonie.
It's such a good film. Good film. But Swiss Army Man. Going back to Swiss Army Man, it's about this guy who is just, he's in love with this woman, and Daniel Radcliffe's character is he's dead, but he's learning, like he wakes up almost, like he's still dead, but he's gaining this new conscience, and he has these abilities that helps Hank able to get himself home. So like for example, his dick is a compass, so he needs to Hank needs to show Radcliffe like a porno magazine, and he gets horny and it shows him where to go. And
it sounds mental, man. What is this film?
It's so good. It's so good.
Like what is like the plot though? Like what's like?
Okay, so the plot, right? The plot is literally this. It's this guy who's trying to get himself home, but he has this like, he's having like a midlife crisis, and he's scared. He's scared to talk to this girl he loves. He's scared of his dad. And his mom's recently passed away, I believe, and he's just completely just overwhelmed with everything, and he just wants to die. And so it's about him finding life again through a character who's dead, and he gives life to Radcliffe's character by finding like life himself. But there's this like really weird but beautiful part, and he convinces Daniel Radcliffe that this girl on his phone is Radcliffe's phone, and that it's his wife, and that he then like dresses up as this girl on the phone, and he creates this like absolutely beautiful like scene out of all the objects around them, and it's like they're on a bus and stuff like this, but it's all made out of sticks and like garbage and stuff like that, and it's just a wacky film, but it's just a really like good feel. It's just good. It's just one of those films where it's like you can nitpick at it all you want, but it's going to make you laugh like the writer said the first fart will make you laugh and the last fart will make you cry, and I 100% agree with that. It's like the most. I've never watched a film like it before. Like genuinely never watched.
I'm watching the trailer in silent while you've been talking about it, so I'm like, oh, it definitely does. It definitely makes sense. It's the same guys that made bloody Everywhere All at Once. It's got the same looking vibe.
Yeah.
Damn. Not fair enough though. Fair enough.
But and as well, it's like I really like Paul and Daniel for their kind of not wacky roles, but they're like they're different, right? It's not your like typical hero or villain or damsel in distress. Like it's a very interesting concept and it's very out of the box, but it's like it's refreshing and it's nice. And then
nice refreshing for it.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I wouldn't know, but I kid, but yeah, you know what I mean. It's like. Anyway, I've seen that films more times than I've seen any other film, and the first time I've watched it, I still like from the very first time I watched it, I still feel the exact same way rewatching them. So,
well,
it's my number one.
Very good, Robert. Didn't expect that. Nice to have a bit of a change though.
Absolutely.
I also didn't realize you were such a Tarantino fan. But...
I would say. I tend to say David Finch is my favorite director, but Quentin's definitely been in the works at the moment, and I'm a bit confused whether I'm a David or a Quentin.
Well, we've only got one Quentin left, I think, right? One more film, and then he's off to TV or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Bloody bastard. I'm the only guy in the last 20 years to make good films. Bye. Like,
that's not true. We've got Christopher.
Yeah, that's true. Although Tenet, I could barely fucking hear. So I like
really
Tenet.
like Tenet.
Well, I don't know if I like Tenet. I think I like Tenet.
I rewatched Tenet and. Because how confused I was the first time, and I liked it the second time. I thought it was good.
I mean, the action's great, really well directed and stuff and choreographed. But mate, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, mate. Like, I don't think I'll ever know what's going on. I don't want to take notes during a film to figure out what's going on.
I had to watch a lot of YouTube videos to like help guide me.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, so that's my top 5.
Very good.
So,
you want to give a brief honourable mentions? Or?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to give a brief honourable. Okay, so normally I would have put like Indiana Jones or Planet of the Apes or something as like one of my favourite films, but I tried to keep it away from trilogies. As much as possible, just because in my head I'm like, each film makes it better. Like they all complement each other, so I just wanted to do standalone films.
Apart from Cars.
Yeah, apart from Cars. Bless Cars.
Which we all know is it was supposed to be in your top 5.
No, that was a joke. That was a joke.
That was a joke. Was it in yours?
Mate, Cars 1 and 3, if they made a third film like of those quality, mate, Cars would be top of my top 5.
Cars is actually so
Cars is not mid, mate. I'm doing a video like an analysis of why Cars is a banging film. I'm gonna make Brendan eat his words.
I can't wait to watch it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do my honourable mentions. So, are you ready for this?
I don't know, mate.
I am.
They're not hot takes.
I don't.
Okay, so Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. Iron Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know Iron Giant?
Yep.
Do we know the Iron Giant? This
We
guy.
do.
Superman.
Superman.
1914. No, 1917. Sorry.
All right. Yeah.
Dunkirk.
That's also a really good one.
Saving Private Ryan.
That's also really good.
Noticing a trend. Yeah, a trend. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
The three army films back on.
Logan, Nightcrawler, and Zodiac. The first Mummy, the Mummy.
Oh, the Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, not the Tom Cruise shit.
Yeah.
That one. Flipping Tom Cruise, you're only good in Mission Impossible. Joking.
Hey,
I'm joking. That was a joke. I like Top Gun. I thought that was good. And then Way of the Water, Avatar, Way of the Water.
Okay.
I would have put that in my top 5, but I have such a big complaint that I can't.
It's still too early as well.
So
consider that.
I don't know, man. I saw that in theaters like 8 times. Like I came out loving that more and more. It was just that one thing. So I'm like, I can't do it to myself. But I was going to say one other thing. Yeah. So I obviously have my top 10 best films of all time. And so that's why I think there'll be a couple films where Brandon's like, why isn't that on your honorable or your top 5 favorite films? But that's because I think they're in the best films. So, yep.
I see. No prisoners.
Best film.
I see.
Best.
That's what I was waiting for. I was like, I can give info. I can give analysis. On this.
Not in this video, Brandon. Not in this one. You're absolutely silent.
Hey, I've had the freaking ever-long break. I haven't even gone on this.
You should have been doing a different episode, bro.
I don't know.
Increasing our output.
I know. I apologize, boys. I apologize for.
Well, no, because it's good. Because like it's going to encourage us to watch some of the films that you watch as well. You also might like the thing is if anyone's actually watching, you might actually represent someone else's films as well, as opposed to just Star Wars and Ratatouille.
That's true.
Mate, I'm as surprised as you. The Ratatouille's in my top list.
we had freaking Ratatouille to Dark Knight to Swiss Army Man.
Hey, when you put it like that,
we're reaching all boundaries. Animated cooking film from Batman to bloody dead Daniel Radcliffe.
Do you think it shows our personality traits?
A bit, yeah, a bit. DDV. But no, that was good. I think we should definitely try and watch ones we haven't seen. I'm particularly interested to watch Reservoir Dogs, so I think that's going to be up my alley.
What do you reckon then? Maybe not for next episode, but maybe the week after, we could do either a dedicated Reservoir Dogs episode if we talk about it for long enough, or
bro, I could talk about that all day.
Or do you want to incorporate that into the weekly one? Or do you think? Because
I think
it's going to be a quiet week anyway, right?
Well, because we got Transformers Flash coming up, and then I think we got I think Indie might be good just because it's relevant. And
do you want to do a separate Tarantino thing
then? I mean, we could, but again, like, there's no rush. You know, we got time.
Yeah.
We got time.
Anyway,
it's also trying to think to watch it as well.
Ignore our
Pixar
organization rambling. Just many of the things that are there to look forward to. If you're watching this in chronological order, you've spent 5 hours. What are you doing?
Something.
You're very welcome for
what
it.
Are you doing? But if you've somehow managed to make it through all 3 episodes, this is not the format. So if you like this, sorry, it's never happening again.
If you do like this, hit that subscribe.
Nah, cringe. No, yeah. So if you don't like this format, it'll only happen probably once a month, once a month. I don't know, once every 2 months when one of our other friends comes on as a guest to talk about their top 5 films, or even just one of their favorite films. So it might never be like this again. Could be a good thing. Probably is.
Maybe we'll do an updated top 5.
Yeah, next week. Mate, my whole list will be different. But no, yeah. So, well, fingers crossed these uploads go all right, and there's a nice intro and an outro. Question mark. You'll know, but we won't. And next week is Transformers and The Flash. And that will be our awful ramblings about films we've seen in between filming this and now, and like the next episode, or just recent films we've seen, as well as a bit of a deeper dive into what we think of Transformers and The Flash. And then that'll kind of be the weekly format, I reckon. And then we'll have more kind of high production videos, I think, on... I think our plan is at the moment is Sundays for regular episodes and like midweek for more specialized episodes. But we're just taking the punches as they come. We're rolling with them. Feedback. Tell us we're shit. Tell us how we'll be better.
Yeah.
Leave a comment. Like. Subscribe. Smash that like button. We know you haven't left a like yet, and that really makes me sad because we talked for 5 hours in a row, consecutive hour. We filmed the first 3 episodes in one session, and I think we deserve a like. Just one.
With our 3 lists combined, surely there's a film you like.
And maybe our commentary just ruined that film for you. So go find a new favorite film.
There you go.
But yeah, so thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this, boys. Thanks for sharing your lists.